Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Top Cut Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast. This is Sunny. I am here with Caleb.
Hello, everybody's.
And we have a very special guest on the podcast today. We have Yishan McNabb. Yishan, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sunny. Thanks, Caleb, for having me on the Top Cut podcast. My name is Yishan McNabb. I have a YouTube channel, just Yishan, and I sort of maybe most well known for topping with Grand Maggio at YCS Portland a couple of years ago, and then recently I've been having some pretty good success in the remote dueling circuit with Tri Brigade decks, and once in a while some Grand Maggio sprinkle in there as well.
Don't play with people's emotions. We both know that what you're really known for is being on the Top Cut podcast, the first major guest.
True.
So we're very excited to have you on. We've talked about this with you before. It's so the word I want to say is validating, but that doesn't necessarily feel like the correct word. But it feels good to have somebody that's well known within the community that's, willing to come on and give us a chance to ask you some questions, talk to you for a few minutes. And I guess the word is really just put ourselves out there, as well as hearing your thoughts and opinions on the game, which is
picking your brain, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that means a lot to us, and we really want to thank you a lot for coming on.
Oh yes, 1,000 thank yous.
Yeah, no, you guys are welcome. It's I think the podcasting space is great for Yu-Gi-Oh! I was looking around for Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcasts to see what people are up to, and you guys are what I found. So hopefully we can work together, get this podcast going. Get the podcast space bigger and just make some great content for people to listen to.
Absolutely. So what we're going to start off with today, the first and most important thing here is the plug. I want to make sure that everybody knows to follow Yishan everywhere that it is good to follow you. Yishan, you mentioned your YouTube. Where else is it a good place to follow you?
I do have a Twitter, which I'm trying to use more. It's just Yishan YGO. But That's really it. I have a Discord server as well. You can just look at one of the links in my video and check that out as well. But mostly just a YouTuber. I stream on YouTube if I do. So if you want to go check out the channel, I just try to provide deck profiles, and I really try to provide educational content that actually helps you get better at the game. That's sort of one of my goals with a lot of the content that I put out is, can I actually help you get better at the game? Because I feel like there's
no spoilers, but I'm here to tell you that content has worked.
Good.
So we will for sure be putting links to your YouTube as well as your Twitter in the description. And for your Discord, people can follow a YouTube link from there, if that's okay. The next thing is, please follow at Top Cut Podcast on Twitter at DatChumley and at JamTheMan17 for everybody listening. That is me and Caleb's personal Twitters. We ask that you follow our sister channel on YouTube, Team Dark Arm Dealings. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get into the main section of the podcast now that introductions are out of the way and stuff. The first thing is quick play news. Turns out there is none.
Yeah. It's all the news right now is just a bunch of new cards.
Right, which obviously we're going to have a whole segment dedicated to. Other than that, it is let's see, this is Tuesday, July 13th, and we hope you enjoy the rest of today's episode. And now we're going to move on into some of the card by card for the new cards that just got released. The first card we're going to talk about is Machina Ruin Force. Caleb, do you want to do the effect and everything?
Yeah, sure. Give me one. Yeah, sure. Give me just one hot second to pull it back up.
Of course.
I've got everything nice and organized.
I love how doesn't it just get you like that sometimes?
Yep. Okay, so here we go. Machina, Ruin Force, level 10 Dark Machine, effect monster, 4,600 attack, 4,100 defense. He is beefy.
Yes.
He can't be normal. He can't be normal summon or set. Must be special summoned from your graveyard by banishing any number of machine monsters from your graveyard whose total levels equal 12 or more. That's incredibly easy in this deck, I'm not gonna lie. Like, this dude by himself is level 10. Isn't Citadel level 10 as well?
Yeah, Citadel's level 10, Machina Metal Cruncher's level 10, Gear Frame is a 4, which is not great, but you've got...
And it's not just...
Fortress is a 7.
Oh yeah, and it's not just banishing Machina monsters, banishing machines. So you could very well do Citadel and your Scrap Recycler or something like that.
Ancient Gearbox, whatever you have on hand.
You can only use this card's first and second effects each once per turn. When your opponent activates a card or effect during the battle phase, quick effect, pay half your life points, negate the activation. If you do, have your opponent's life points. It's probably never going to come up, but if it ever does, that probably means you're going in for a game shot now.
Yeah, you just win the game right there, basically, if that effect resolves.
2. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon up to 3 of your banished Machina monsters whose total levels equal 12 or less. So basically, if you banish for his effect, he can just refloat those monsters right back if he gets destroyed by battle or card effect. And it doesn't have to be your opponent's card effect either.
Yeah, it's broken.
Yeah, this card is really interesting to me. I guess the most obvious use case is in the Earth Machine deck. That's sort of the most competitive deck that runs Machinas right now. Unfortunately, it is dark, which does hurt this card quite a bit because it just can't be searched by Riverstormer. Riverstormer only deals with Earth Machines. It also needs to be in the graveyard, which is super interesting. Like, good targets to banish are like Machina Metal Cruncher, that sort of thing. It can banish any machine monster, which is nice. I like that it's level 10. I think it's a great card, past the first turn. The question is, will it be worth that spot? Because it is sort of, brick. And I think the thing you want to do with this card is discard it to special back Machina Fortress, because that's a great way to get it into the graveyard. That's just like pure value right
For
there.
Sure. Or Citadel too.
How does Citadel special summon itself? I always special summon with a trap card. Is there another way to special summon itself?
I believe you can also special summon Citadel the same way you summon Fortress.
I don't believe
hang on.
so.
Hang on. He's pulling it out.
I'm pulling out my copy of the deck.
Anyway, while they're doing that, let's see. But just the 4,600 attack points by itself on a it's a graveyard special summon, so it's...
So Citadel doesn't special summon the same way that Fortress special summons, but if you use Overdrive to destroy Ruin Force, and then you can activate both Ruin Force and Citadel's effects. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. I haven't played the deck. I've got basically the whole deck built. I just haven't played it yet. But it seems like a one of would be a good addition within the deck, right?
Yeah, it's the classic conundrum. Is it worth the brick? I'm not sure. This and people smarter than me or people with more time may be able to figure out a more consistent way to use this card. It seems borderline to me. It's definitely a card worth testing and trying to figure out how to integrate in your Earth Machine decks, or maybe in some other kind of machine deck as well.
I don't know for sure that it would be played in the Earth Machine deck specifically. Maybe a one of if it is. But what I would say you can play it in is... Do you think something like this makes something like Machina Control like a legitimate deck, now that this gives that deck the recursion off of the banished monsters and stuff?
Yeah, I actually do. I just realized that, I don't believe, if I'm reading this card correctly, it does not... The special summon is not once per turn, which I just realized that is...
You're right. There's literally...
The other two effects are
Yeah,
once
it's
per
not.
turn, but if you can somehow destroy it, so you summon it, then you destroy it, special back 3, link, special it back again. I mean,
Oh, yo!
Link climb some
you
more.
know, this is really, you can special it. It's very interesting, at least, that the special summon is not once per turn. I just assumed it was, but now that I'm reading this card more carefully, there definitely is some potential for some brokenness to be going on there. So definitely something to look out for.
The main thing that I think would be an issue in the Earth Machine deck specifically is that obviously so many of the Infinitrack cards lock you into special summoning Earth Machines, and with him being dark, it really throws a wrench in that. But hey, I'm sorry, I didn't think about it. Throws a wrench in it. I didn't think about it. That's funny. But the main issue here is that it's a dark. Like realistically to me, because you can't use it for all the broken link summoning of that Earth Machine deck.
Yep.
Right? So I think it would have to be used in like some kind of Machina control thing. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Because it can't be used in so many of the combos.
Oh yeah.
So the next card to talk about is Evil Twins Trouble Sunny. I guess since my name's on it, I should read it. A Link 4 Light Fiend Link Effect monster, 3300 attack, which is awesome for this deck because they needed a finisher. The Link arrows are up, down, left, right, basically. Materials is 2+ monsters, including an Evil Twin. You can use each effect among the first and second effects with this card's name only once per turn. So it's hard once per turn each of the effects. First effect, quick effect, you contribute this card, special summon from your graveyard up to 1 Kiss-a-Kill and Leela monster each. And the second effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then send 1 Evil Twin monster from your hand, deck, or face-up field to the graveyard. Send 1 card on the field to the graveyard. This is good for the deck.
Yeah, I mean...
Oh yeah.
There's not much else to say. This card is just fantastic for Evil Twin. Yeah.
A small part of that is absolutely the non-targeting send to graveyard effect it's got on it. Doesn't destroy, doesn't banish, just...
Plus, like I said, the 3300 attack is... Like, I understand that attack points in today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Are not necessarily, like, the end-all, be-all. But it helps, Like, realistically... I guess a lot of times if you want Link 4s, you would probably go into Access Code or something of the sort. But I think a lot of this deck locks you into Fiend-type monsters. So, it's still a good card and a good finisher, and it also can serve as an extender for the deck.
Oh, absolutely. Particularly with the whole attributed to special summon Lilla and a Kiss-a-Kill monster.
Right.
Yeah.
But because it doesn't specify Evil Twin or Live Twin, you can bring back out the links or whatever you really need to do.
Yeah.
Right. There's no reason you would not summon this card on the first turn. I can't see why you wouldn't do it. So, yeah. There you go.
I don't know the Live Twin or Evil Twin cards well enough to realistically know all the different combo lines and link climbing lines and things of that sort. But I feel like you said, Yishan, you go up into the card quickly and climb up into it really fast, and it just happens. You know what I mean? It just extends all your plays out further.
Yeah. I mean, you're just gonna use this card, and then you get free sends. It's fantastic. Just buy your Evil Twin stuff, I guess, and
Yep. Oh yeah. We'll have to wait and see if this actually becomes pertinent as far as the actual Evil Twin deck itself.
Right. Okay, so we actually just had an update to YG Organization. We just got a bunch of new cards. So we're going to fly through these cards that you may or may not have already heard, and we're going to go into the actual new stuff that literally just got announced like less than 2 minutes ago.
Okay, cool. So next up we have King of the Sky Prison.
This card's broken.
Oh, yeah, absolutely broken. We're just going to kind of fly through real quick. Basically, you can just reveal him from your hand until the end of your opponent's turn. And then as long as he was revealed, set cards on the field cannot be destroyed by card effects. And then also while it's revealed, if a set spell trap is activated, you can just special summon from your hand. And then you can set any spell trap from your deck. Any spell trap. So it's like, my opponent just set a bunch of back row. I'm just going to reveal, flip Regeki, effect to set the Harpy's Feather Duster, flip the Harpy's Feather Duster. That's a bad example, but it's broken. And on a 3K body, oof.
Yeah, I think one thing that we should also realize that I also just realized when I read the card for my second time, this card looks like it's good for back row decks on inspection. Like when you first read the card, it's I'm setting cards. If I activate a set spell or trap, it's good for my back row deck, right? But now that I'm thinking about it, actually I think this card is worse for back row decks. I mean, you could just side this in against a back row deck. They activate a set spell or trap. Boom. It does not need to be your opponent. It does not need to be your set spell or trap. It's just if one is activated, right? So boom, you just special it out.
Oh, true.
Then you can set, like you said, the Harpy's Feather Duster on your turn from your deck, and then just activate it, or whatever you want, And it's just a free 3K guy. Like this is like
he's a rock if that matters.
Yeah, he's a rock. I mean, you could just have this card in your side deck, and if you draw it going first, then sometimes the backward decks they're going to side in back removal against you, and so it just seems like such a powerful card. I mean, I don't think it's broken,
all around,
but it's just a solid card.
I mean, it's a powerful card all
it's just
around.
A solid card. So
Yeah, I think one of the best parts about it is that it turns opening with Harpy's Feather Duster into a dead draw.
Yeah.
If you don't summon
it. Yeah, it's a little risky because sometimes, if you don't summon it, which can be the way to go. Obviously, it doesn't protect your floodgates, which is sort of the biggest downside. It only protects your set spell and traps. But I mean, I think that's good enough. So certainly an interesting card. Will be good. Looking forward to it.
Here's my headcanon, since it's a level 10 rock, is that when Nibiru landed, this is what came out.
Interesting.
I mean, sure, why not?
I mean, it's got 3,000 attack. It's a level 10 rock monster. I mean, it's from the sky prison. I mean, it was imprisoned in Nibiru.
Yeah, well, I mean, but you also got but just because it's called King of the Sky Prison, you also got to think, what is its connection to Sanafon, the Sky Prison?
Yeah, I think maybe it controls Sanafon because Sanafon is the Sky Prison. I have no idea, honestly. Don't ask me anything about Yu-Gi-Oh lore.
Yeah, yeah, we'll have to wait for Konami to come out and say
exactly. Give me the lore update, Konami.
Because recently they've been actually putting out lore for some of this stuff, and it's great. Anyway, so moving on real quick. Next stuff, we have the Transonic Bird, level 4 Dark Winged Beast Ritual Monster, 0 attack, 2400 defense. Once per turn, you can reveal a ritual spell card in your hand. If you do, add a ritual monster from your deck to your hand whose name is listed on it, and then shuffle the reveal card back into the deck. And then once per turn, in your opponent's turn, you can quick effect, send a ritual spell from deck to the graveyard. And then this effect becomes a ritual spell's effect that ritual summons monster when it is activated. 3, if this ritual summon card is tributed, you can target a face card in your field and your opponent controls, negate its effects at the end of the turn. So that allows you to activate ritual spells in your opponent's turn. First off,
good.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, this is the kind of card I look at, and I know it's probably good, but I am not smart enough to figure out all the combos and all the ways to abuse this card. I just leave that to the combo players. Let them do all the work, and either just learn from them so I know what's happening, or just play it in my deck.
Yeah, exactly.
But it seems very good. I mean,
and then
yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then we have the actual ritual spell for it, Sonic Tracker. It's got your bog standard ritual effect, but it also has a second effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target a ritual monster you control. Send a ritual monster with the same type and or attribute as that face-up monster from your deck to the graveyard.
Yeah, I don't know how to abuse this the best. I guess the question is, can it be used in Drytron? Yeah. Probably.
It's like super, super duper abusable in Drytron because you can banish it from your graveyard. You can target the Drytron ritual monster, which now a lot of them are running one copy of, the Draconids. And because it's light, you can send any of your light ritual monsters to the graveyard.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So it like automatically puts your Edatin out and puts your Natasha out. It searches basically any of those.
Yeah. Next up, we have Zoror the Magistus Daemon. That's going to get translated to the Magistus Archfiend.
Probably.
Discard a Synchro Summon, equip it with a Magistus monster from your extra deck. Also, your opponent can activate the effects of monsters with the same type, Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, or Link, as Magistus monster cards in your spell and trap card zone. Then you can target a Magistus card you control, destroy it, and if you do, special this card from your graveyard. So it's a walking floodgate. And on a 29 body, that's not nothing to scoff at.
Yeah.
Granted, it is a Magistus, very Magistus reliant. That might be like the one drawback to it.
Well, it is interesting. You don't have to. I mean, not. You probably will want to play Magistus cards, but the requirements for making it are surprisingly non-Magistus. So I wonder if there's a way to sort of just summon this. Probably not, honestly, but I think it's probably still best in Magistus. But I have no idea how good that deck is. So if there's maybe some more support, this might be good. But I just can't see it being that effective.
I mean, like, the only experience I've ever had with Magistus personally is some people run Relona in Shadal with the Magistus Invocation as another fusion mechanic.
Another fusion engine.
Right.
Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's... Okay, next up, real quick, there was a whole bunch of Boral cards that got released. One of them is just a giant meme. So I'll just... real quick, just say its name, and I'm pretty sure a vast majority of our listeners will immediately recognize what I'm talking about. Come on, cooperate. Phone's not cooperating with me. Give me one hot second. Here we go. We got Reloaded Cylinder. What a meme of a card. But the big one I want to talk about is Boral Code Dragon, the Link 3. Let's see, it's made with 2+ effect monsters. You can only use its second and third effects once per turn. It cannot be destroyed by card effects when a Link monster points at this card. I mean, that's decent. Throw the damage if this Link card Link summoned using 3 monsters as material, battles an opponent's monster, destroy all monsters on the field. Non-targeting destruction, cool. You can banish the card from your graveyard, banish a dark monster on the field with 3,000 or more attack. If you do, special summon a topologic monster from your extra deck or graveyard. Recurs a topologic monster or cheats one out, cool. It doesn't say banish a dark monster on your field, just the field. So if your opponent also has a dark attribute monster sitting there with over 3k attack, you can banish it too to activate this effect, which is cool.
Honestly, I think looking at these cards, I think the card above it, Rocket Caliber, is maybe a better card.
Oh, 100%. It's another level 4 tuner that extends out of the hand if you control a...
It's a free special summon out of the hand.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. But I just kind of want to talk about Boral Code Dragon just because it sounded cool.
But I mean, this card, this Rocket Caliber, you can special summon this card from your hand to a zone your Dark Link monster points to. That's an extender in every Dark Link-based deck. That's an extender in Phantom Knights. That's an extender in most Dragon Link decks. You can tribute it, special summon a Dark Dragon or Machine-type monster from your hand except Rocket Caliber. I mean, that card is really good.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so all the new cards that got announced like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Okay, first. Oh, it's all agent stuff.
Yeah, it's 3 new cards that got announced that are coming out in the agent structure deck in Japan, as well as some reprints they confirmed Arcloid Christia, Herald of the Orange Light, Eva, which that's awesome. That card needed a reprint.
Oh yeah.
The Sanctum of Parshath, Creature Swap, Divine Punishment, Balance of Judgment, Herald of Pure Light, and Celestial Nightlord Parshath are the reprints.
Yeah. That being the Parshath Link retrain. So first off, we have a 8-agent Link monster, Guard of the Agent's Moon. So, Link 2 Light Fairy Effect Monster, 1800 attack. Its arrows are bottom right and right. Materials, 2 fairy monsters. You can only use this card's first and second effects once per turn. If this card is Link summoned, you can send 1 Sanctuary of the Sky or one card that specifically lists that card in its text from your deck to the graveyard, or if the Sanctuary Sky is on the field or in the graveyard, you can add the Agent of Mystery Earth from deck from deck or graveyard to your hand instead. 2, you can tribute a fairy monster and the target one card opponent controls, destroy it. So first off, just get the Sanctuary in the Sky in your grave for free.
Or any card that lists it in its text, which is almost all of the agent monsters.
Yeah, and then Venus obviously can just summon this card with the Shine Balls. Interesting card.
Yep.
Yeah, it's really not bad.
I want to see how this Sanctuary in the Sky whole gimmick works, because the card is pretty bad, like the actual card, the Sanctuary in the Sky. So maybe they have like a new Sanctuary in the Sky, or maybe there's some better way. It's funny how they just put it in the graveyard, which I find hilarious. This is probably a great little thing for modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Because the card's just going to die all the time. So I'm curious to see how maybe we can use that card. All right, let's take a look.
I think they announced some of the support for the deck like a couple of months ago. A lot of the newer cards get to activate their effects as long as Sanctuary in the Sky is face up on the field or in the graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think their big boss, their new Hyperion monster, I think some of its effects rely on Sanctuary in the Sky being on field or grave. So it's interesting. The fact that it would get to mill it out is good.
Yeah, it's great to see agents back. I remember playing when the agent deck was like meta TG agents. Crazy deck.
Oh, dude, yes. Do you ever play any 2011 Plant Synchro format?
I haven't actually played that format. I just remember. But agents was a cool deck. So hopefully it's decent. Yeah.
I hope so too.
Funny you should mention Sanctuary in the Sky, because this next card, the Sacred Water of the Sky, it's a normal spell card. You can only activate its first and second effects once per turn. 1. Activate the Sanctuary in the Sky from your deck, or add a monster that specifically lists the card in its text from your deck to your hand. Then, if the Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in the graveyard, gain 500 life points for each Hyperion and the agent monster you control. So just get it out, or search, either get the Sanctuary in the Sky or just search for another agent monster.
That's just the first effect. It's got a second one too.
Yes. If your monsters that specifically list the Sanctuary in the Sky in its text would be destroyed by battle, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead.
Which, it might not come up, but if it does, awesome.
You got it.
Yeah, I don't see how you don't play 3 of this card. I mean, it's just Rhoda for the deck with an upside. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. Exactly. You have to play 3.
It's Rhoda or Terraforming.
Yep.
Yeah. It's realistically, this is probably the best card in the structure deck. This card's amazing.
Easily.
I mean, this is the kind of thing that catapults a deck from obscurity back into like real meta play.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
It's consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, exactly. The next up is actually a new synchro. The Executor of Hades, Pluto. So we're finally getting Pluto.
Yeah.
He is a level 5 Dark Fairy Synchro Tuner monster. He's a generic tuner. This card is always treated as the agent card. You can only use this card's name's second effect once per turn. Once per turn, you can banish a monster from your graveyard, then target an effect monster on the field. Change it to face-down defense position. This is a quick effect if the Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field or in graveyard.
Field or grave. Nice.
So first off, it's a Book of Moon that you can activate multiple times in a turn as long as you got stuff to banish. Oh my god.
Well, it's a soft once per turn, so I guess technically you could.
Yeah. 2. If you can banish this card from your graveyard, add the Sanctuary in the Sky from deck or graveyard back to your hand.
Interesting.
And because he's a tuner, that actually makes him work really well with the...
that's true, because I think Earth is a 3 and the Shine Balls are 2. Right?
Yes.
Is that right?
That sounds correct.
The Agent of Mystery Earth is also a tuner.
That's true.
Yeah.
The Shine Balls and Venus.
I'm thinking Venus
are 3 and 2. Yeah.
So you could theoretically go like Venus summon a Shine Ball, and if you have this guy on field, that's 10, and then you can go into their new big boss level 10 synchro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, what you could do is you normal summon Venus, get 2 balls, get the Earth out, Earth and a ball to make this guy.
But how do you get the Earth out?
There's probably a way to cheat it out.
I'm sure it's got some kind of a special summon mechanic built in.
Yeah, oh yeah. Like, and then make this guy effect Book of Moon something, and then it plus the Shining Ball and the level 3 Venus to make the new Hyperion Synchro.
What I can't get over, every time you say Venus summon 2 Shine Balls, my next thought, summon Gachi Gentetsu.
Yeah, overlay Nagachi.
Every time.
Yeah, that play used to be so good. I don't know. This is certainly interesting. I think, I know a lot of players are huge Agent fans. Hopefully it brings some players back into the game. That's the great thing about the legacy support like this, right? A lot of old players are like, oh, this looks
Absolutely.
really cool. I want
Oh,
to play
yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Again. So, yeah.
I like that they did it with the Machina structure deck. That was always my favorite structure deck growing up because, like, Machinas were always, like, my favorite archetype. All machine decks, basically, were, like, my thing when I was younger. So to coming back into the game and see there be machines relevant, awesome to me.
Oh yeah. That's about it for new cards.
Yep. So now that we've wrapped up all the new cards, who wants to talk a little bit about the YCS and the extravaganza and the big tournaments we've had recently?
I mean, I can start with that.
That's right. Lead us in, Yishan.
Thank you, guys. Wow, what a smooth transition we've got going here.
Heck yeah.
So I guess we had the extravaganza two weekends ago, which I actually won. That was my first event win. I've topped definitely a couple, but that was my first win. That was cool. I was playing Zodiac Tri Brigade, but then Dryden got banned. So
Boo.
I guess that's the price I have to pay for winning an event. And then.
Yeah, Yishan, it's all your fault.
Yeah.
Why did you get Dryden banned?
Definitely my fault. Definitely my fault. And then this weekend was the remote.
It's
duel
not like
YCS.
they announced the ban list before the event.
Yeah,
or
they did
anything.
actually. They did. So it was my one last.
Oh yeah, they did.
It was my one last hurrah for Dryden.
Right.
And then there was the remote duel YCS this weekend, which I just actually finished playing in. I didn't top. I got. I'm at day 2, but I went X3, and you needed to be X2 to top. And even if you were X2, you needed to be lucky. Like only 50% of the X2s actually made it to top 32. So yeah, it was a really fun event. I played pure Tri Brigade. Tri Brigade. I mean, I looked at the breakdowns of some of the events, and it was like a lot of Tri Brigade. People really liked the deck. A lot of Sky Striker. Amazingly, and one thing I heard, I saw someone post this: 3 virtual worlds made it to top 16, which I'm not sure is that statistical variance or just legit. I have no idea. Like, I thought the deck was fine. I didn't think it was super good, but who knows? I don't know. That's something to be interesting.
So I've actually got the breakdown of the European extravaganza for the main event numbers as well as the top 32 numbers, because apparently in Europe they know how to make charts and graphs and give us information which they don't know how to do in the United States. So we can handle the rulings, they can handle the charts and graphs. And so what I've got for the main event is 216 Tri Brigades, and that's out of 1,796 players. So just say 1,800 players. A little over 200 are on Tri Brigade. So you're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 12, 13, 15% of the field is on Tri Brigade, which is good. Like that's a lot. For it to be the most represented deck in the field surprises me.
Yeah, it's.
Oh yeah, no, that was ridiculous.
I mean, what's great is that it's not like super crazy. Like the format seems very diverse right now, so that's really awesome.
It's not solved, right? I mean, it's like it's just at this point there is no best deck. I would even say there's no best 2 or 3 decks. It's just these decks, like these are the decks you're gonna see, but you could beat them.
Yep.
So 216 Tri Brigade, 178 Sky Striker, and 175 Salamangreat. The second and third most represented decks are Sky Striker and Salamangreat.
That to me is crazy. People just love those decks. I mean, that to me is crazy.
Oh yeah, it's insane. 149 Drytron. Drytron, that's a really interesting deck to me because, like, in theory, it could be the best deck of the format, but everybody's just so tuned in on the deck that it doesn't have a chance to be.
Yeah, Drytron's powerful. The problem is there are too many cards that are good against it. There's just so many good cards. Droll, Cycle Reader. And it also has a hard time playing a lot of hand traps because of the nature of, it doesn't want to break. You can actually break with Drytron pretty easily. Just ask your fellow Drytron players. Right. But yeah, so I mean, I think the deck is strong. I just don't think it's tier 0 like people might have thought it would be. It's just a strong deck.
Right. After the Drytron, you have 114 Invoked. I'm assuming this is some kind of a blend of different Invoke decks, but I'm sure the most prevalent one is Invoke Shaddoll Dogmatica.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I mean, it's probably the best or maybe the second best now that Striker's back. It's either the best or second best control deck of the format, so it's not surprising that it's well represented, top 5 in representation.
Yeah.
The next is 107 Virtual World.
Yeah, this surprised me.
Which is... Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I'm not going to say it baffles me. I guess the deck's got combos, but, like... Really?
They don't make VFD anymore.
Well, which makes the deck actually fun to play against. What I will say is this deck takes quite a bit of skill. And I have played against good Virtual World players, and I played against bad ones. Or not bad ones. I like to use the word inexperienced. And the difference is staggering. Playing against a good Virtual World player, it feels like, if they ever sort of get a little bit of leverage in the game, it becomes really hard to breathe. But also, like, sometimes the deck just can't do anything, which sucks. So I'm glad, it's a fun deck as long as VFD doesn't exist. So pretty cool. Glad to see it.
It's a really back and forth interactive deck if VFD doesn't exist. The only issue now, though, is that they're going Muddy Mud Dragon into Ultimate Zolkeen to end on a board with Crystal Wing Synchro and Dragoon, which is not fun and interactive.
Yeah, or Kaliga. A lot of people are going for the whole Crystal Wing Kaliga combo.
Gross.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if this deck is too popular, you can play Super Poly to out those cards. Other than that, though, you want to be able to hand trap it. I mean, cards like DD Crow are good against this deck. But what's interesting is, now that Virtual World's not in the considered super meta, the hand traps have changed. You don't see as many Skullmeisters. Lancey is still pretty popular, but still.
Realistically, because VFD is gone, compared to what it was when Virtual World was at its height, the meta is not nearly as trap heavy and trap reliant as it was when this deck was at the top of its relevance. Mm-hmm. And because you don't have all those traps in the format, it really gives the deck a chance to shine outside of its original... the diversity in the meta, as well as the lack of traps and really hand traps that mess with the deck, have given the deck a chance to shine on a competitive level past its prime.
Yeah, which is cool. No, I like decks like this. It's fair now. It's sort of... This is what Virtual World was designed to do. It wasn't designed to just spit out VFD and just end games like that. It's just so boring. But so cool to see.
The other thing what I did I also played in the Remote Duel YCS. I only played 3 rounds. I played more, honestly, in the side events. But I knew that there was going to be some Virtual World. So what I did was I had 3 Ice Dragon's Prison in my side deck because that card hits that deck surprisingly hard.
Interesting. Okay.
Because they're all worms or psychics, and if you can realistically pull 2 of their options away from them, it's pretty brutal. Like Lulu is a psychic, so if you can get Lulu and one of their other psychic monsters out of rotation early in their combos, it basically ends their turn.
Yeah. And the deck can be a little fragile, I feel like, if you have the right cards to line up with Virtual World cards. But yeah.
This is something me and a friend were talking about, though, is that... I'm sorry, the Virtual World deck, I know we're getting caught up on it, but it's really interesting to me because the deck does remind me about Drytron in that the combo lines are not linear. It's very much a case of every game, they get started into their combos and they extend through their combos in a completely different way. And you really have to know what the deck's doing to understand how to stop it.
Yeah, that is true. It definitely pays to be familiar with the deck, sort of to try to figure out what to hand trap.
Right.
So, yeah.
The next thing is we had 85 Prank Kids, which I guess that's not too surprising. It's the second best mid-range deck of the format.
I figured there would have been more. Personally.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I haven't seen it much at all recently. I mean, the deck's good. People have said they've played against it. I just haven't seen it personally. I mean, I guess it kind of like hard sucks against Tri-Brigade or Revolt. And then the deck is like, Bell hurts that deck so much if people are playing that card. I mean, you tribute the link on the special 2 back. Bell, like, oof,
yeah.
God, that hurts. So yeah.
The next one is 51 Eldritch, which is really surprising me, but I think a lot of this is like Zombie Eldritch or Eldritch Stun, because realistically, Zoo Eldritch is not a playable deck anymore, right?
Yeah. That actually, Dryden being banned hurts Eldritch the most.
Right.
It's funny because there was a point in the game where I was like, man, these Eldritch cards are annoying. But for some reason now, the Eldritch cards, they just don't seem good enough. I don't know what it is. Like, the deck's just, like, it can get going, but I don't know. The deck's not a problem, I guess. So,
like, realistically, they're gonna do like 1 to 2 things on your turn, and then it's just like, okay, cool. I get the rest of my turn to do whatever I want now because you're done.
Yeah.
It's just a little too slow.
A little too slow.
41 Altergeist. I know nothing about this deck except that it exists and it plays trap cards.
I played against it in the Femboy Remote Duel tournament.
Uh-huh.
And I went second, so my opponent went first, and they just kind of started special summon, set a trap, immediately activate it, special summon, set a trap, pop it, effect a trap, and I was just sitting there like, I don't know what you're doing, but okay, because I didn't open any hand traps. And as soon as my turn started, he flipped personal spoofing. And that's when I realized the whole deck's entire purpose is to get personal spoofing out, I think.
I don't really know what you're talking. It's probably some Altergeist Haunted Rock stuff shenanigans on the first turn. But you're talking about Caleb. But I mean, usually this deck just normal summons. I mean, they want to get to Multi-Faker and start bouncing your stuff. They want to get Trap Multi-Faker, and there's a couple ways to get Multi-Faker. There's drawing it. There is Personal Spoofing, which is the best card in the deck. And then there is the Altergeist, the level 1. I'm blanking on its name, but it's level 1. You know, if it attacks directly, it can. Meluseek, exactly. Yeah. So there's a couple ways to get to that. I don't know. The deck just seems like it's okay. I guess it's another one of these things where it might be a little too slow. And if you don't draw Multi-Faker, it can be tough to win. Because the decks are so fast now.
Right.
But even if you do, you're not guaranteed to win. It used to feel like back in the day, if you drew Multi-Faker, it was so hard to lose. Now, even if you draw Multi-Faker, you need really, really good backup as well to still win, I think. So,
right.
It's a fine deck, though.
Oh, yeah.
The next one is these 2 interesting ones. 34 Dragon Link and 34 Adignister. I was honestly expecting more Adignister.
Me too. I just think maybe the deck is expensive. I don't really know. People just like Salamangreat. I have no idea why the number is so low. The deck is pretty good. But I guess people just don't have the cards. Maybe they're too expensive. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know that price is the issue because Drytron is probably the most expensive meta deck of the format. Really, it's just people just wanted to play other things.
Maybe people will find the deck boring. I mean, I can see how someone might find the deck boring, but then again, there's people summoning Alistair over and over and over again. So it's all this.
yeah. I mean, the deck does die to Ash if they make Dark Infant and they try to search for the field spell and they don't have it in hand already.
Yeah.
You just end your turn.
It gets hurt by Droll a lot, which is sort of, a lot of people are playing right now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be one of those things where it's hurt too much by other things in the format to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It might be a case of that a lot of the stuff that hurts a Drytron is also a counter to them.
Yeah.
And everybody's, siding and maining for Drytron, so of course they're going to have an issue.
So past that, we have 615 others, which I have a breakdown of the others. Realistically, it's like Dino, Earth Machine, Cyber Dragon, Phantom Knight, Subterra, Madolche, Grand Maju, Shadal, Burn Decks. I love how they just grouped Burn Decks into its own thing. Emancipator, which is interesting. Plunders, Warriors, Pendulums, Paleo Frog, and just, a bunch of one-of, some Mermail, some Dark Magician, stuff it'll always be there, but it'll always be in the other category.
Oh, yeah. Table 500.
Well, hey, listen.
Some of it.
Cyber Dragon topped the NA YCS, so... if you're a rogue player, hold out. Hey, listen, I heard one time Grand Maju even topped a YCS too. That was pretty cool. So,
we might know a guy that didn't know something about that.
Yeah. So,
and realistically, at least one of those other decks did top here because there is a Subterror and there is a Dino and there is a Madolche. So, realistically, they there, but not in huge droves.
Right, yeah.
So
you can make it. You can make it though. One of these less meta decks. So hold out hope, rogue players. Hold out hope. Stay strong.
That's it. The top 32 breakdown of that European YCS is 1 Dino, 1 Subterror, 1 Dogma Invoke Shadal, 1 Dragon Link, which is really, really interesting to me. 1 Madolche, 1 Prank Kids, 2 Salamangrate, 4 Virtual World, 7 Drytron, and 13 Tri-Brigade to take up a little over a third of the field.
Yeah, that 13 Tri-Brigade number is pretty high. I would I could see Tri-Brigade getting a little nerf maybe. Next ban list, I don't know. I also looked, there was 6 Zodiac Tri-Brigade, 6 Pure, 1 Ancient Warrior. The Ancient Warrior combo is interesting. I've looked into it a little bit. I just want to see how the Tri-Brigade decks look. I'm kind of curious, but probably we won't get a chance.
So I actually have a breakdown of that.
Look, you have the cards in the
13
deck?
Tri-Brigade.
The
13 Tri-Brigades that topped, there were 6 Zodiacs, 6 Pure, and 1 Ancient Warriors Tri-Brigade.
Right, yeah. I was just wondering more okay, the Zodiac players, what are they playing? Is there anything special, or is it just the 3 Thoroughblades with the Rat? Ancient Warrior, I want to see what they're doing there. And then, I'm just sort of curious because there's, a lot of variations on the Tri-Brigade. As long as you have the Tri-Brigade cards in your deck's going to be pretty good. But I'm curious to see everyone's slight little variations on the deck. So, looking forward to the deck lists if I ever get to see them.
So,
one thing I noticed, a very distinct lack of Sky Striker in top 32.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
there
true.
was 100 entered or something more, and none of them made it.
178.
Yeah,
and not one made it.
Yeah, Sky Striker is another one of those decks that takes a lot of skill to play. I also think, if you just do the math, you brick at least 10% of the time. I feel like just no monster.
Yeesh.
Because you have to draw a starter. You can run 4 rays, and maybe you run 2 or 3 rows. But let's just say you run 3 rows, so it's 7 total. And you have the Hornet drones, which is 8. Those are your starters. So 8 out of 40 is not horrible. Then you have other ways, obviously you get some redraws, upstart, area 0. But the deck seems like it might brick a lot throughout the event, which worries me. And also the deck takes a lot of skill to pilot. So I think that's why it's not as successful as people maybe were hoping. It's just the deck can brick, and it takes skill. So that formula together just makes it hard to top with, I think.
Also, Imperial Order is a heck of a card.
Yeah, so let's talk about our Winnabat tournament, because I want to talk about. I played Sky Striker in the second round of the Winnabat tournament. And I feel bad, dude. I just opened Imperial. I hard opened Imperial Order games 1 and 3.
Yeah, I mean, again, also even that people are playing anti-spell, which is super annoying if you're playing that deck. If you don't have the out, it's like, oh my god, like, everything just takes. It's hard to win. If your opponent has anything going for them.
Yeah.
So, but hey, I think Pac actually, I heard he topped the Sky Striker. I'm not actually sure that he's playing a Sky Striker. I just heard he did.
I thought he was playing Prank Kids.
Oh, was he? I don't know. I have no. I actually don't know. He just has a Ray profile picture, but I have no idea. So
So I jumped into the server that he's on. Actually, he was on the main server, the A server, and I jumped into No, he was in the same server as me. He was in the F server. And I jumped into one of his matches because my first round ended like crazy fast, like 5 minutes. And I jumped in to ask him to spectate. And his second game was wrapping up already. And he was on. I thought I could have sworn he was on Prank Kids. I literally think he set Ray as his profile picture just to mess with people.
That's smart. Yeah. I probably agree with his choice. Prank Kids is a much more consistent deck. Again, I think Striker is very, very risky and hard to play. And to be honest, you want decks that are easy to play. Yu-Gi-Oh is already a complicated enough king. It's better to play easy decks and play consistent decks to top these big events. So
you're not wrong.
Oh yeah, particularly whenever you're going 6, 7, and 8 rounds over and over and over.
Yeah. So I do want to spend a little bit of time talking to you about, like realistically, we've talked about tournament results and things of that sort, but I want to talk to you specifically about your results in both the Extravaganza and the YCS. And I want to mainly ask you about your deck choice as well as some of the individual card choices within your deck. If that's okay with you.
Sure, yeah. I guess we should give a look. I played Zodiac Tri-Brigade. I think I already talked about this, but just a refresher. I played Zodiac Tri-Brigade in the Extravaganza and just a pure Tri-Brigade at the YCS.
Right. So, I feel bad. I'm probably going to dominate this conversation away from Caleb, but I've been playing. So I picked up the Tri-Brigade engine right when all the cards came out in Phantom Rage. And I was unsure about how I was going to play it. I just looked at the cards and I read them. I was like, these cards are broken. Like, this engine is broken. It's amazing. But I just don't know how to use them. And then I saw your profile and combo tutorial on MST.TV's channel with Tombox.
Mm-hmm.
And I immediately put together Bird Up. That was my deck for a while. And I just remember thinking, like, man, these cards are so good.
Yeah, they're cool.
And
they're cool.
So they really are. And they work together. They work well together with so many different archetypes. So what made you specifically going into the Extravaganza think that Zodiac Tri-Brigade was kind of the way to go?
Well, the theory behind it for that event was just, I mean, it is so hard to hand trap that Zodiac Tri-Brigade deck. And the Tri-Brigade deck is still pretty hard to hand trap. It's easier now without the zoos, but I mean, that deck is so hard. Like, I mean, there is no hand trap that works. Like, Nibiru sometimes works, Ash sometimes works, Droll sometimes works, and usually you're still ending on disruption. Regardless of what hand trap your opponent opens, you can still play lots of hand traps. You have decent going second with the zoos. It was just this. I think what players realized about Tri-Brigade, the mistake we were making in the beginning was we were playing too many non-Tri-Brigade cards, because the Tri-Brigades are like, we're like, oh, I want to play like 10 Zodiac monsters with a couple Tri-Brigades. And then we all just realized, okay, hold on a second. Let's just play a bunch of Tri-Brigades and a small little side engine for the Tri-Brigades. And that was like the big, obviously that in Bearbroom. But it wasn't like...
And the revelation of people actually playing Revolt.
I saw the potential Revolt. That card was broke. I read it and I was like, wow, this card is really, really good. But like there was no way to search it. That's like the biggest problem with the card. And there was no kit, which is a huge deal with Revolt. So
right, I saw people playing Trap Trick before Bearbrook.
Yeah, but once kit came out, Revolt became much more of a real threat. And the card is fantastic. So, I mean, it's just, the deck was so versatile. And I played like a super consistent, I was playing Upstart Goblin, I was playing Desires, and I think Desires is just a fantastic card. I mean, obviously I'm a Grand Magi player, so that might be a little biased, but I think, if you just look at all the Zodiac Tri-Brigade decks that were topping, almost all of them were running Desires. The card is just insane. So right. I would recommend, I think that's one. People lose a lot of games because they banish bad stuff off Desires, and they're like, oh shoot, like I hate this card. But I think it's just totally worth it still. But then obviously Dryden got banned. Actually, yeah, I did pretty well at that extravaganza. Even I got deck checked halfway through, and apparently I made a mistake on my deck list. I couldn't play Appaloosa, or I was playing Topologic Zeroboros as my like OTK budget thing. I couldn't play those, so I actually had to draw one of my rounds where I could have won. But the deck was so good that I was still able to win without those two cards in my extra deck, which is just insane. I
don't know that I made Appaloosa once.
I made it a couple of times. Obviously, it's harder without Rat, without the Rat Ram combo. But it's not necessary. You can always just like not extend that much, which is sometimes just actually a better play. Mm-hmm. And then, for the YCS, I played pure Tri-Brigade. I went with the Rescue Cat variant just because the upside of Rescue Cat seems so much better than the Zeus. It's like, just seemed...
So what do the adjustments look like in the main deck to go from the Zoo variant to the Rescue Cat variant? Because obviously you're cutting the Barrage, you're cutting the Rat, you're cutting the Ram, which is probably the only 3 Zoos you're main decking at that point, right?
So and I cut all the extra deck Zoos, and then I put in 3 Rescue Cat. I put in an extra Karis because I was playing Desires and Rescue Cat, so I didn't want to like run out of Karises. That's one way. So a lot of mistakes new players to the deck, or sort of you should really be considered is you don't want to just be spamming your kit. Effect, especially off Revolt.
Yes.
I think you don't need to activate it like past like the first couple of turns. You don't want to dump your unless you're playing the spell, but you don't want to just waste Tri-Brigades, because if you're like in a situation where you really think you need to chain block something, that's fine, but you want to be careful because you don't want to run out of Karises, because Karis late game is the best Tri-Brigade. It's the extender, right? So you definitely need the card. So you do want to be careful.
Something I found myself doing was I had a hand where I opened 2 traps, a Rat Pierre, a Karis, and a Kit. Mm-hmm. And my opponent had Necro Valley, Dragoon, a face-up IO, and a set trap card. So I say that it was 1 trap, it was 10 key, it was Karas, it was Kit, and it was Rat Pierre. So I activate 10 key, he flips IO. That's how it got flipped up. And then I activate Karas and send Kit as cost, and he negates, or he lets Karas resolve and then negates Kit with Dragoon. So at that point, because I've used Karas as kind of a bait, I just normal summon Rat Pierre, overlay into Borbo, and attack direct for 0 and nuke his field with Zeus.
Yeah, that's the power of the Zoo engine. It's much better going second. I think it's still viable. Yeah. It's so much like not having Drynet just sucks. There's no other good way to put it. That card is so broken.
It does, but I feel like having... So as I'm talking, I played the zoo. I still played a 3-card zoo package in the main and a 3-card zoo package in the extra deck in today's event. And we had talked about that. We've talked about this before previously on the phone, but it's really. I think Zeus is just. It might be one of the most powerful cards in the game, honestly.
Yeah, it has good synergy with the zoos. So zoos and Zeus. But yeah. I mean, like in situations like you were saying, like they have like a bunch of stuff. You just normal a zoo attack directly. Send their field, double send with Zeus, and basically play through a bunch of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I can't deny it. Obviously, it's funny because in the EU YCS, exactly 6 pure and 6 zoos topped. So it's basically like they're about equal, which I think is hilarious. I would like to see how many zoos versus pure entered the event. That would be really interesting to see. Or just to see the deck list.
I would love to have that information.
Yeah. I mean, I think zoo is
I would like to
cool,
have any of this information for the North American version.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But they used to post top 32 deck lists on the website back in the day. I don't know why they stopped. So, and maybe it's too much work.
They just said no, not today.
Too much work, probably. Like, I had to type all this stuff out. So, yeah, it's interesting. I think the deck is still strong. Maybe I'll try the zoo version out this weekend or something. Who knows?
Yeah. Hey, me and you will get together. We'll do some playtesting.
Sounds good.
So, what extra deck adjustments did you make going into this event? Because if you cut the full zoo package, that's like, what, 5 cards?
Yeah, I mean, including Dryden, it was 5 cards. So I wanted to play the Samorg Link. And if I own Pot of Prosperity, or I thought it might have been better than Pot of Desires. I think Pot of Desires is so broken, though. I probably would have tried to play the statue package as well, because I think statues I like the free wins. But I decided to go with
it's nice.
I still went with the Samorg, but I just played the 1 Apex Avian. My theory was if I banished it off Desires, no big deal. Because if you banish either the statue or the spell card off Desires, it can be a little awkward, and you also don't want to commit to sending the spell card and then desiring and then being, I banished the statue. Well, this is really weird, right? So off kit, I mean. So so it was super interesting, and I was like, you know what? I played Mist Valley Apex Avion. It still works with Revolt. And the reason what pushed me over the edge was I was playtesting against my friend. He was playing Striker, and that super, if I make Appaloosa, they just negate it with Widow Anchor, right? And then I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just go some more special summon Apex Avion? Now what are you gonna do? It's like so strong against Sky Striker, and I thought there was gonna be a lot of them, and they're actually looking at the EUI statistics. There were a lot. I only played 1, and I just made that Samorg Link against my opponent, and he was like, well, this sucks. I can't. He's like, Widow Anchor. I'm like, oh, sorry, you can't target it. It's like, right. And I just used it.
Can't target.
I used it throughout the day as like a way to just make a negate. I'll just make a negate here. And then if you don't out this is just going to negate one thing every turn for the rest of the game. You're probably going to lose, basically,
And not only that, but after the initial bring out Apex Avian, it can also potentially, as your opponent's turn ends, it can also turn into a Nerval on field.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, card is pretty good. So
it's a versatile card.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Apex Avion. I thought it was the right choice for the event. And then I got to play an extra fair jet, so that was nice. And then
I also put in an extra fair.
I wanted to play third. I played a third Shreg. Honestly, I never summoned it. I thought I would, but I never did. I probably should have just played like a card like Psyframe Lambda. There were a couple times during the event where I could have used that card. I felt like because I had Gambas in my hand, or just like a way to like link off monsters into anything. If you have a token, you can link Bear Broom and the token off for a Lambda. That's great. Yeah. So just something to link off with would have been nice, but it is what it is. So
that's interesting. So your final record was what?
My final record was 8-3. So decent record, but I mean,
Okay.
like again, is top 32 for 1,800 players. I mean, that's just crazy. Like not even like usually at a YCS, if you go X2,
Right.
you're topping. Not even this one. I mean, like half the X2s didn't. That's just it's so hard to top this event. So
Yeah, this event was weird in that way. I really feel like I think they should have gone maybe top 64 because I think the American one was even bigger than the European. The European was 1796. I want to say the American one got closer to just shy of 2,000. And because really, I mean, we're talking about two different events, right?
Yeah.
So I think they really probably should have cut to top 64 because they were going to do top 64 at like 2,048
right, it's
players.
close. It's like by power of
And-
twos. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think top 48 would have been
Yeah.
a great compromise, but the problem is you can't do single
You don't have
elimination
even rounds.
with top 48. Maybe they could have just said it's a top, but only top 32 plays for top cut and top 48 gets a mat. That might have been more fair. But that's just how Yu-Gi-Oh is. These are the rules. They were described beforehand. We sort of have to play by them. So
Yeah, if you don't like him, you just got to get better
yeah,
at the game,
I guess
to be
so.
honest.
I guess so.
So is there anything is there any matches that really stand out, any plays that really stand out, anything that you saw today that just really sticks out in your mind?
Well, there was I saw a couple cool plays. I also realized, I unfortunately I didn't get I misplayed once, and that hurt my chances at topping. It was a very complicated game though, and I played pretty well, but I sort of couldn't. I made I made one mistake, and I couldn't quite convert the win. I was like definitely like I had to come back in that game, and it was kind of annoying that I didn't finish the comeback. I was playing pretty well up until just a mistake. But it's okay. I misplay, like everyone misplays, and I think they're gonna happen at events. I also sort of I didn't sleep very much for day 2, and I misplayed day 2, and I think one thing I'm trying to get better at is when I misplay, I get annoyed at myself. I'm like, oh, like you just threw the game like that you were about to win, sort of thing.
Yeah,
and
dude,
then I
do the
misplay
same
again
thing.
because I'm tilted, and I'm just like frustrated with myself. I'm not even concentrating on the game. I need to get better at just like, okay, I misplayed. It happens to everybody. Let's move on. Let's play the game from its current position. So that sort of was like, oh, that I that's like not a good habit to pick up, is getting tilted in the middle of the game.
Right, for sure.
But I did see a couple cool plays. I learned a couple things over the weekend. One cool play I saw was actually my last round I played against Drytron, against Brett Angel. He actually has a YouTube channel. I just sort of know all the YouTube channels because being a YouTuber myself.
Yeah.
But he did this really cool thing, and I wanted to share it with you guys. Which was he was playing
Please.
Drytron. He lost the dice roll, unfortunately for him. Honestly, it can be a dice roll matchup, that matchup. But
Yeah.
I did the whole Zodiac Tri-Brigade thing. I had Revolt with the Simorg link, so I was feeling pretty good. And he's like, he looks at his hand, he's like, okay, I'm not gonna win this game. So what he does is he just sets all the spell cards in his hand like he's playing a trap deck, right? Passes the turn. Right on my turn when I'm doing stuff, he looks at his cards, asks me questions about my what column is, blah blah blah, making it seem like he's playing like a trap deck, right? Even though he is
Right, so you're like trying to play around everything.
he has no intention of winning this game. By the way, he has no intention of winning this game. But what he does do, which is what I think is really cool,
is gather tons of
he gets
information.
but also he tricked me. I'm siding, and I'm like, okay, well, he just set 5. So what am I putting in? I'm putting in my Harpy's Feather Duster. I'm putting in my Twin Twisters. I'm putting in my Pankratops, right? Like I'm assuming this is a trap deck, and he's playing Drytron, so all these cards are just complete dog against his deck. And he almost guarantees himself
Oh, that's so
like a
fun.
really, really good game too, because people are going to try to side because they like, okay, I think I know what you're playing, like I want to give myself the best chance to win game 2. And I mean, I didn't even draw those side cards, but when I saw the play, I even said at the beginning of the game, I said, I said, listen, if you did that set 5 just to bluff me, that is a really, really cool play. I've never thought about doing that before. And it worked. So that was really cool. I'm definitely going to try that in the future. If I look at my hand, I can't win. Instead of
awesome.
scooping, I'm just going to set every single card that I can. And then before they see any card, I'm just going to scoop. So I make them think it's a trap deck. So that to me is just hilarious. So yeah.
That's awesome. I never would have thought to do that. I've heard of just like scooping before they can see what you're playing,
right.
but I've never thought of it in a way of that.
Bluffing an entire. Just bluffing. You're playing an entirely completely different deck. Chef kiss.
It's genius.
Mwah.
It's genius.
Yeah.
Especially because the back removal is bad against Tritron. So, definitely some trick I'm gonna employ for sure in my Yu-Gi-Oh career if I ever see the chance.
Yeah, I've got some friends that play Drytron. They're gonna love that. They're definitely gonna incorporate that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
So
go ahead, Caleb.
I was about to go. I have one question for you. A lot of people are always asking, what hand traps did you play? Why'd you play them? I got a good question. What hand traps did you pass on? We're considering, but then passed on.
That's a good question. So, okay, in my opinion, you should play either something high impact or extremely like versatile, because you're gonna play against a lot of a bunch of different decks. So like Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is not the strongest hand trap, but it's just, how am I not going to play this? It's always good, and I really like those cards that are always good. So I played 3 Ash Blossom. I also played 1 DD Crow, just because I don't see why you wouldn't play DD Crow. The card is pretty good already, and you can search it out. Like, it can be okay in certain matchups, but like the card is like pretty decent, and you can search it out. So I played 1 of those. And then what I played was Gamma, because I was playing. Not only was I played this in my Zodiac Tri Brigade version, but the card is just, it's such a power card. When it resolves,
you probably
so
win the game.
strong. And if you ever resolve on your turn, which happened a couple of times, and I don't blame my opponents for doing this. The problem with the Tri Brigade is if you don't Ash Fractal, like if they have Revolt, you're still in pretty deep trouble. It's like, oh, okay, I have to Ash Fractal, but you can't, like, if you Ash Fractal, you're playing into Gamma, so you're like, okay, and just the threat of Gamma, like, okay, my opponent has a Lancia in his hand, right? But it's okay, I'm not going to do anything until he summons a monster to play around Gamma, right? So then I Desires, and if I have a Called by the Grave because of the Desires, then my opponent Lancias me, I can Call by the Grave. So it's just like forcing people to like wait is just makes like life difficult, for them. And so
that's it's always great to be able to make your opponent's life a little bit more difficult.
Right. The only problem is if you draw it going first, it kind of is awkward. But if you can just use your Bear Bloom or your Farigate to just put it back on the bottom, that's fine. The only bad thing about Gamma is you have to run Driver. But other than that, it's a fine card. So those are the hand traps I played, and then I sided 3 Droll on the other 2 DD Crows. Just because DD Crow actually, just having that Tri-Beast energy is great. Especially going second, it helps you get your Revolt live quickly through Disruption. I played Droll, but I honestly never got to activate it. There were times where I was like, please, I want to draw this card, and I just didn't draw it. But that's just Yu-Gi-Oh,
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
So, was there something else you wanted to ask
I played 2
Well,
Emperor, just because I had 2 spots in my deck.
Okay, cool.
So.
Yeah, modest. Imperm's a great slot for that. But, what are some hand traps you considered but ultimately decided to pass on? And
okay, so
why?
I guess there's a couple. Lancia is good in the Tri Brigade mirror, but sometimes not good enough, because if they draw Revolt, you're screwed anyway.
I also did not side.
Yeah, I honestly think maybe I might start doing it just because I saw that Virtual World uptick, and now that I can see how many people are actually playing Tri Brigade. I just haven't played against that much Tri Brigade, but again, now that I've seen how many people are playing Tri Brigade, the problem is the card is it feels okay. So it feels like impermanence, honestly, against Tri Brigade a lot of the time. And even a worse impermanence sometimes, because if I summon Rescue Cat, you Lancia me, that was my other theory. Is okay, I'll just special summon if I have I searched I tried to keep Nervals in my hand to make Link 3s, or just special summon out a DD Crow, make the Simorg Link. That was sort of another way to play around Lancia. So I just didn't play Lancia because I didn't think I was gonna want it against that many decks. Maybe that was a mistake. A card I also just don't think is that great is Nibiru. It is okay against the Tri Brigade decks, but I got Nibiru twice. I won both of those games relatively easily. Because like I normal rescue cat, and then they were gonna Nibiru me. So they're like, then my opponent's like, how many cards do you have in your hand? I'm like 4. He's like, oh, so I just traded a Nibiru for a rescue cat basically, and I filled my graveyard with stuff. So like that Nibiru was like whatever, like it was fine. Like it was the same thing as an imperm basically. And then a lot of times my opponents had Nibiru, but I would only summon like 3 times in the turn, and they'd be like, well, this sucks. So it's okay against some other decks. I think the problem with the card is the better the players you're playing against are, the worse that card becomes. But I think also people know maybe they know I don't play Nibiru, so maybe it's time to put it back in my side deck. So there's that. And then I wanted to play Bell. Maybe I should have, honestly. Like, maybe it's better just to play Bell instead of Droll. The thing about Droll is it's sort of awkward with other hand traps because you want to Droll your opponent, right? Like, okay, I want to Droll my opponent, but if I Droll them, then I don't want to use this Ash, right? So it can be a little awkward. So maybe you just play like other, like hand traps that are always good. Like I probably could have sided in that Bell a lot of games where the Droll didn't work. So those are sort of other hand traps I considered as well. Yeah. But didn't quite make the cut.
Interesting. It's what about Effect Veiler? That's something that I see a lot of people want to side it in for Tri Brigade specifically.
Yeah, Effect Veiler is another great option.
And I also want to ask, honestly, as a Tri Brigade player, a situation I find myself in a lot is when that first Tri Brigade summon, you go to activate the effect and it gets Veilered. How do you generally recover from that? What are you looking for to be able to recover from that?
Yeah, well, there's a couple things I look for. If I open Revolt, I make sure that if my Fractal is all successful, I make sure to search Kit. The reason is because if I get Impermed or Veilered, I want to make sure that I can link off into Almirage to get the 4th Tri-Beast in the graveyard. That's the first piece of advice, I would say. You want to make sure you're searching out Kit in that situation to play around Veiler and Imperm. Other than that, there's not that's why the cards are good. There's not you sort of just have to take it in stride. If you have a Karis, you're fine. If you have a Karis, you're honestly doing really well because you just banish 2 Bear Blue, go into you end on Appaloosa Revolt anyway.
Right.
So that's sort of the way to do that. So those are the my 2 recommendations is, okay, make sure you're searching Kit if you can get that Revolt live to play around, because that's a really common card, Veiler Imperm. If they Veiler you and you just set Revolt with 4 in your grave, you're probably doing all right at least. So
yeah.
That's sort of what I would recommend to make sure. You want to be able to summon Almirage to get that 4th Tri-Beast in the grave.
I hadn't even thought about that. You make a really valid point, though.
Mm-hmm. And, yeah.
So,
sorry, go ahead.
There was something else that I wanted to ask, and it's on the tip of my tongue, but I'll be honest, I can't come up with it right now. I think there's another extravaganza in a couple of weeks. I think maybe July 23rd, 25th. It's like a 3-day extravaganza.
Oh, it's 3. Yeah, I mean, what I was interested about, and this is sort of interesting to talk about, is remote dueling something that we want Konami to continue in sort of a lesser capacity once the sort of all the stores
I was thinking about this
go
earlier.
back to normal? Because there are a lot of positives to remote dueling. Just the fact that you can play with people from all around the country. Obviously, I really like real-life dueling, and I think a lot of people sort of question the integrity of remote dueling, and I don't blame them. There's so many ways to cheat in remote duels, or soft cheat, and to think that there are people that are soft cheating. There's no doubt about it in my mind. Luckily, it probably doesn't make that big an impact, and there's sort of ways to counter it. But I do agree with people. There probably is cheating going on, and it's almost impossible to stop. Whereas you're much more likely to be able to stop it at a real event. And also, just real events are fun too. Going to an event, talking to people, seeing them, playing with real cards, being able to see your opponent's graveyard. None of this stupid Discord disconnect stuff.
For real.
Right? So, but it was cool.
Yeah,
so maybe we can do
There's
some.
definitely some
Maybe we can
legitimacy
do
there.
some. Maybe a remote duel. I sort of maybe like an extravaganza every once in a while. Who knows? But I think that they're kind of cool. Also, 50-minute rounds, please. Konami, when we return to live dueling, I do not care if it makes the tournament take like an extra hour. I can't even imagine going back to playing 40. Every single other card game plays 50-minute rounds. So please, Konami.
I really, really, really loved having 50-minute rounds because a lot of times I was ending game 2 around like the 25 to 28-minute mark, and I never felt like I was going into game 3 like, oh my gosh, what do? I don't have enough time, like I'm going to be rushing now, and I'm going to be worried about time. I'm going to go into have a tie procedure, and I'm like, I'm just happy that realistically, it lowers the anxiety level. Like honestly,
and it makes duel like. I think if we're gonna have the time rule how it is, like we should just because again, at big tournaments, the reason that things take so slow are usually because of player disputes with judges, right? And deck checks sometimes take a while, but that's sort of like the judges need to do deck checks quick. Unless there's like some penalties, obviously, but usually that's what takes time. It's not the actual round time because again, at tournaments we just wait for the slowest table, right? The last table that goes is what holds up the tournament, right? So
right, and realistically, if you have tables that are going over the 50-minute mark anyway, now why not give everybody that time? And then like honestly, if a table's gonna end at 53 minutes. It could end at 53 minutes, whether everybody else had 50 or everybody else had 40.
So, I guess the point is, if you add 10 minutes to a round and there's 8 rounds, the most you're going to add to a tournament is 80 minutes, and it's going to be less because of just the nature of how the timing system works. So, I think it's worth it. Personally, I think it'll probably add about 40 minutes, is probably my guess, to maybe like an hour, but I think it's worth it. I think if you ask players, I think they'll be happy to. So...
The thing that I really do agree with what you said, though, is I love the idea of making major remote duel tournaments a permanent thing. Maybe once or twice a year you have a remote duel YCS, and then like 4 to 5 times a year you do remote duel regionals. Like I really think that should become a regular thing. Like the regionals realistically could be the size of around extravaganzas, around 350 to 400 players. And the YCS I'm fine with like an 1,800-man YCS. I mean, I can't speak for the other servers, but server Group F, I mean, we were blazing. I mean, we were running around every hour or less.
Our group was run, so it was horrible. It was horrible. Yeah, I wish I was in your group.
We started at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time. We ended round 8 at around 9:30.
That's good. Our YCS was not like our group was not like that at all. So yeah.
But the point is like a well-run event, even if you extend the time rules.
It has to be.
Fine,
It's right. It wasn't the time rules that caused the event to take a long time. That's for sure. So
yeah.
We'll see. Hopefully Konami experiments a little bit in this space. In the remote duel space.
Oh yeah, no, most definitely. I mean, like even just, I mean, like like you said, just that 10 extra minutes can do wonders for a lot of players to just give them an extra minutes to just kind of relax, take a breath, going into game 3.
And not only that, and this might be the biggest thing for remote duels in my opinion is, Caleb and I are a perfect example. We're grown adults and we have our own vehicles, sure, but our card shop's an hour away for the closest card shop.
Yeah, that's...
I mean, this is an opportunity to play in a major tournament. For us, the closest YCS we will ever get to us is probably about 4 hours.
Oh, yeah. Where were we, like Florida or something like that? Or Fort
Worth?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in like the northern part of Louisiana. Okay. So Fort Worth is like a 3.5 to 4 hour drive. Houston's about a 4 hour drive. If we ever get one in New Orleans, that's right at 4 hours. Everything's basically 4 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And that's 4 hours running 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, just for reference.
Yeah.
So, but overall, I enjoyed the event. I was very happy to win my first ever tournament of any kind, which was one of the Winnamats. I definitely dropped after round 3 of the tournament. I had family in town and stuff, but right after they all left, I was able to hop on and do a Winnamat, and I won that, which was I played against. First round opponent didn't show up, but we're not going to talk about that. Second round opponent was Sky Strikers, and I opened Imperial Order 2 of those games, and the third round opponent, the finals opponent, was Gravekeepers with Dragoon. Literally 3 Red Eyes fusions, 3 Inspector Borders, the full Gravekeeper package with the Necro Valleys. I was just like, oh my goodness. I cited 10 cards going into a game.
Yeah, sounds like a fun deck to play against for sure. So, yeah. But hey, at least you won.
Actually, it was the most fun.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
If you play against those decks, it's fun if you win, and it feels horrible to lose. So
exactly.
That's basically how those decks go. Yeah. You're like,
game 1, he activated Necro. He activated Commandant, search Necro Valley, activate Necro Valley, summon Inspector Border, activate Pot of Duality, grab Solemn Judgment, set a couple, and pass. And I was like, what am I even doing here?
yeah, it's rough, sure.
So, well, we do not want to keep you too much longer. We've had you for an hour and a half now, which we are so thankful for. Thank you so much for giving us your thoughts and experiences on... Dude, I'm wrapping up, and I forgot to ask. I finally remembered that question.
Oh, what is it?
I'm sorry. I know I'm dragging this out. I have one more question. Last question, I promise.
All right.
How do you feel about the format coming out of the YCS, the new format? Because this was the first major event of the new format.
It's good, I think. I mean, I played in the... there are some formats recently that have been pretty bad. That virtual world format was horrendous. Just so miserable to play.
It was rough.
Format's been pretty good. So I really like how the game's going. Very diverse. So really, really cool, actually. Yeah, enjoy this format a lot. So I think the game's in a pretty good spot right now.
I'd have to agree with you.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
All right, now we'll do the wrap-up.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Thank you immensely. Thank you so much, Yishan. We cannot thank you enough for coming on today and hanging out with us. We want to ask everybody to make sure to go and subscribe to Yishan's YouTube. Make sure you like all of his videos. Make sure you comment everywhere. It helps the algorithm.
Open 10 tabs and watch all my videos. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Dude, just do a playlist and put the playlist on repeat. That way
Yeah. Cycles through everything one after the other.
That's it. Make sure to follow Yishan on Twitter. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Top Cut Podcast, at Dat Chumley, and at JamTheMan17. Make sure to follow our sister channel. Like I said, I want to give a shout out to Enter the Battlefield Games, our locals here in Alexandria. They do lots of tournaments. They support us well, and we are very thankful to have them. And that's all I got. Caleb, Yishan, do either of y'all have anything else you want to add in?
Well, I just want to say how much of a pleasure it was to have you on, my dude.
Yep, you guys are welcome. Thanks, Caleb. Thanks, Sunny. It was a really fun experience. I hope you guys at home enjoyed the pod. So, till next time, I guess, huh?
All right. That's it. Have a good afternoon, everybody.
Yep, take care, everybody.